The encounter, the battlefield was silent, only smoke rising in the broken sky. Shadows stretched across the ruins of a once living city, metal scraps burned slowly, and the air smelled of ash among the broken walls. A human soldier walked carefully, his boots heavy with dust. He was alone, tired, and yet his eyes kept searching for movement. Then he saw her, an alien woman, her skin marked with silver lines, her body trembling as she tried to stand. Her clothes were torn, her arms weak, and yet her gaze was fierce. She looked at the human as if she had reached the end of all hope. For a moment, both stood in silence, two survivors of a war that had swallowed everything. The alien woman fell to her knees. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "I have nothing left," she whispered. "No weapons, no food, no family." Her hands shook as she touched her chest. "My body is the only currency I have," she said, her words heavy with shame. She looked up at the soldier, her eyes filled with fear and desperation. "Please be gentle," she begged. The human soldier froze. Her words hit him like a blade, not because of what she offered, but because of what they revealed. This woman did not know humans, not truly. She thought of him as a slaver, a man who would take and break, but he was a soldier, not a monster. He took a slow breath, feeling anger, not at her, but at the ones who made her believe this. The alien woman lowered her head, waiting for cruelty. Her people had been hunted, sold, and broken. She believed humans were the same as the traitors who had destroyed her tribe. She thought this man would demand a price for her safety. But the silence lasted longer than she expected. Finally, the soldier spoke, his voice low. "Stand up." She hesitated, confused. He repeated, more firm. "Stand up." When she looked at him, she saw no hunger in his eyes, no greed. She saw a strange fire, something she had never seen before. It was not the fire of a predator. It was the fire of someone who refused to bow. She tried to rise, but her legs failed. The soldier stepped closer and lifted her by the arm, steadying her carefully. For the first time, she felt touch without violence. It shook her more than the battle had. They walked slowly through the ruins. The human did not ask her name, nor did she ask his. Yet a silent thread began to form between them. Every step carried danger. Patrols of slavers could be near. The smoke could hide enemies, and both of them were weak. But together, they kept moving. The alien woman looked at him, still unsure. "Why are you helping me?" she asked, her voice trembling. The soldier did not answer at first, his eyes scanning the shadows. At last he said, "Because you are alive, and that is reason enough." She could not believe such words. To her, life was always measured by trade, by power, by loss. Yet here was a man who valued life simply for being. They reached the edge of the city where broken towers leaned like bones. The alien woman stopped, her strength fading. "I cannot walk further," she whispered. Collapsing to the ground, the soldier knelt beside her. Pulling out a small ration pack, he broke the food in half and handed it to her. She stared at it as if it were a jewel, her eyes wide. "No price?" she asked, almost afraid. "No price," he said. Pushing it into her hands, she ate slowly, tears welling in her eyes. In that moment, she felt something she had forgotten long ago: kindness. The silence of the battlefield seemed to soften, but their peace did not last. Far away, a sharp sound broke the air. Engines, heavy and cruel, echoed through the ruins. The soldier's eyes hardened. The alien woman froze, fear flooding back into her veins. "They are coming," she whispered, her voice shaking. The soldier stood, pulling her up. "Then we keep moving," he said, above them. The sky rumbled with the shadow of a ship. The ground shook as enemy patrols began their search. The alien woman clutched his arm, her body trembling. This man, this human soldier, was now her only hope, and yet, she could not know if even he could save her from what was coming. The night deepened, smoke curling through broken streets. Every step forward was a step closer to danger. But neither of them stopped. The human had made a choice. The alien woman had taken a risk. And together, their story had only just begun. *The Plath. Ruins were darker now, the sky painted with fire and smoke. Every sound echoed like a warning. Every shadow carried danger. The human soldier moved with steady steps, guiding the alien woman beside him. Her legs shook with weakness, yet her spirit kept her moving. Each step was a struggle, but she followed because she had no choice. Finally, they reached the broken shell of an old structure. The roof had fallen, walls cracked, but it gave them cover for a while. Inside, the soldier checked corners, his weapon ready. Only silence answered him. Silence heavy enough to crush breath. He motioned for her to sit, and she collapsed against the wall. Her eyes hollow. For a long moment, neither spoke. The crackle of burning fires outside was their only company. Then the alien woman broke the silence. "You should have left me," she whispered, her voice dry. "I am nothing, only a burden." The soldier turned his head slowly, his eyes steady on her. "You think life is a burden?" he asked, his tone calm but sharp. She lowered her gaze, her silver-marked skin glowing faintly in the dim light. "My people were taken," she said, her words trembling. "They were sold like cattle, broken in chains, destroyed." Her voice cracked as she continued. "I begged for mercy, but mercy has no value here." Her hand touched her chest again, the same gesture as before. "My body was all I had, the only currency left to trade for survival." Her eyes burned with shame as she said, "And even that is worthless now." The soldier clenched his fists, his jaw tight. He had seen suffering in wars, but her words carried a deeper wound, not just pain, but belief that life itself had no worth beyond trade. He stepped closer, kneeling down so his eyes met hers. "Listen to me," he said, his voice steady. "You are not currency, you are not for trade. You are alive." The alien woman shook her head, her tears spilling. "You do not understand," she whispered. "All I have seen are chains, and humans who carry them." Her words cut deep, for she truly believed humans were no different than slavers. The soldier's eyes softened, though anger stirred within him, not at her, but at the monsters who had made her believe this. He pulled a small device from his belt, pressing a button. A faint blue light flickered, a human distress beacon. The alien woman gasped and backed against the wall, her fear rising. "No," she cried. "They will come for me. They will take me back." The soldier shook his head. "Not them," he said firmly. "Mine." She stared at the beacon, her breath sharp. "You risk your own kind for me?" she asked, not believing. "Why?" The soldier's eyes darkened with memory. "I once had a sister," he said quietly. "She was taken in war. She never came back." His words hung heavy in the air. "I could not save her," he continued. "But I will not leave you to the same fate." Her breath caught. Her trembling eased for the first time. She saw not a slaver, but a man carrying grief. A man who still chose to protect, even with wounds of his own, outside. The sound of engines grew louder. The alien woman froze, terror rushing through her veins. "They are here," she whispered. "The hunters, the ones who trade lives." The soldier turned off the beacon, his jaw tightening. He grabbed his weapon and moved toward the cracked doorway. "Stay low," he ordered. She wanted to argue, but her voice failed, fear chaining her again. The ground trembled as enemy patrols moved through the ruins. Harsh lights swept across the broken buildings. The alien woman clutched her chest, her breath quick. The soldier crouched, his eyes sharp, watching the shadows outside. Every step of the enemy felt closer, every beam of light sharper. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed, nearby metal falling. Voices shouting in an alien tongue. The woman grabbed the soldier's arm, panic rising. "They will find us," she whispered. "They always find us." The soldier placed a hand over hers, steady and calm. "Not tonight," he said firmly. The voices outside grew louder, boots striking hard against stone. The alien woman's heart raced, her entire body shaking. The soldier raised his weapon, his breathing slow and controlled. His eyes met hers once more, steady and unbroken. "Trust me," he said, his voice like steel. In that instant, she felt something strange, a flicker of hope. The footsteps stopped, silence returned. Then a sharp beam of light cut through the cracks of the wall. The patrol had found the ruins. The alien woman gasped, her fear exploding. The soldier lifted his weapon higher, ready. He whispered only one word. Quiet. The door creaked, shadows moved. The alien woman pressed her back against the wall. Her breath caught in her throat. The soldier stood between her and the danger. A wall of flesh and iron. The silence broke with the sound of footsteps entering. The parting moment stretched like an eternity, and then... Flight through shadows. The beam of light cut across the broken wall. Sharp and merciless, the soldier held his breath, his finger resting on the trigger. The alien woman trembled behind him. Her hands pressed against the stone. The sound of heavy boots echoed closer. Shadows moved through the doorway. Slow, careful hunting. The soldier's eyes narrowed. His mind calm even as danger pressed in. He waited, muscles tight, like a predator ready to strike. The alien woman bit her lip, afraid to even breathe. The enemy patrol entered the ruins, their weapons raised, their alien voices sharp. One turned his head, scanning, the light beam sliding across the wall where she hid. Her heart pounded, her body frozen in terror. But before the beam could catch her, the soldier moved. He grabbed a loose stone and threw it across the room. It crashed against the far wall, echoing like thunder. The patrol spun toward the sound, their lights chasing the distraction. The soldier pulled the alien woman to her feet, whispering. Now, they slipped out through a broken gap at the back, their steps fast but careful, every sound dangerous. The night air was thick with smoke, the ruins stretching like a graveyard behind them. Shouts erupted as the patrol discovered the trick. Voices barked orders, boots struck hard, the hunt had begun. The soldier led her through the shadows. She stumbled, weak and tired, but his grip on her arm kept her steady. Her breath came in quick gasps, her chest burning. "Why do you not leave me?" she asked between breaths. "Because you are not meant to be left," he answered without slowing. They darted into a collapsed street where stone towers leaned like broken teeth. The soldier guided her into the narrow passage between two walls. They pressed close together, the sound of enemy voices passing only a few feet away. The alien woman closed her eyes, praying they would not be found. The soldier's steady presence beside her was the only thing keeping her from breaking. When the voices faded, he pulled her forward again, step by step. They moved deeper into the ruins. At last, they reached a tunnel half buried under rubble. The soldier crouched low, checking the entrance. "This will hide us for now," he said. She followed him inside, the tunnel damp and dark. The air inside was heavy, filled with dust and silence. The walls were cracked, roots twisting through the stone. The alien woman sank to the ground, her body shaking. "I cannot keep running," she whispered. Her eyes glistened with tears. "I have no strength left." The soldier knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Strength is not only in the body," he said. "Sometimes it is in the choice to keep moving, even when it hurts." She looked at him, confused by his words. Humans spoke so differently, strange but powerful. He reached into his pack and gave her water. She drank slowly, her hands trembling. As the water touched her lips, her eyes softened. "You are unlike the others," she whispered. He tilted his head. "Others?" She nodded. "The traitors, the ones who came before. They wore your face, they spoke your tongue, but they dealt only in pain." The soldier's expression darkened. "They were not soldiers," he said firmly. "They were thieves of life." His voice carried steel, and she felt the truth in his words. For a moment, silence filled the tunnel. Then a faint sound echoed from deeper inside. A shuffle of movement, a whisper of breath. The soldier raised his weapon, his body tense. "Stay behind me," he ordered. His voice low. They moved deeper, each step echoing louder. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber, lit by faint fires, and there they found them. A group of mercenaries, rough and armed, gathered around stolen crates. Their laughter was cruel, their eyes sharp. The alien woman gasped, fear rising in her throat. One mercenary turned, spotting them at once. "Look what we have here," he sneered, his voice thick with greed. His eyes locked on the alien woman. A prize. The others rose to their feet. Weapons gleaming in the dim light, the soldier stepped forward, placing himself between her and them. "Not yours," he said, his voice like iron. The chamber filled with tension, every man ready to strike. The alien woman's heart raced, her body pressed against the cold stone. She had seen this moment before when men fought over bodies, over lives, but this time was different. This time, a human stood in front of her, not to claim, but to protect. The mercenaries laughed, their voices echoing. "You think you can stop us alone?" One mocked. The soldier tightened his grip on his weapon. "Try me," he said, calm and steady. The fire crackled, the air heavy with danger. The alien woman's breath caught, her eyes wide. She knew the fight was about to begin, and she knew the choice he made to stand for her would change everything. Asterisk broken chains, the chamber burned with firelight, shadows dancing on the cracked stone. The mercenaries closed in, their weapons aimed, their grins sharp with greed. The alien woman's breath came fast, her body trembling as she pressed against the wall. The soldier stood tall before her, weapon steady, eyes cold and unshaken. One man laughed, a sound like broken glass. "Hand her over, soldier, and maybe we'll let you live." The soldier said nothing, his silence more dangerous than any threat. His grip tightened, his muscles ready. The mercenaries thought they faced one man, but they did not see the fire behind his eyes. The soldier had carried war before, and tonight, war walked with him again. The first mercenary lunged forward. The soldier moved like a storm, fast and precise. His weapon roared, the sound shattering the chamber. The mercenary fell, his body striking the dirt with a heavy thud. Chaos erupted at once, shouts filling the air, weapons flashing. The alien woman gasped, her heart frozen in her chest. She had seen men fight, but never like this. The soldier moved with the focus of survival, every strike chosen, every shot deliberate. He fought not for blood, but for her safety, for her freedom. The mercenaries circled, their numbers heavy, their blades catching the firelight. One rushed from behind, but the soldier spun, striking him down with brutal force. Another leapt forward, blade raised. The soldier blocked, sparks flying as metal clashed against metal. The sound echoed like thunder. The alien woman crawled back, fear and awe mixing in her eyes. She had expected him to fall, to be broken like all who stood alone. Yet with every strike, he defied the odds. With every breath, he chose to fight, not for himself, but for her. Blood stained the ground, the mercenaries growing desperate. They shouted, calling each other, yet one by one they fell. The soldier's body was bruised, his arm cut, but his spirit did not waver. He fought like a wall of iron, unyielding, unbroken. Finally silence returned. The last mercenary dropped his weapon and fled into the darkness. The soldier lowered his gun, his chest rising and falling. The firelight painted him in shadows, his face hard. He turned toward the alien woman, who stared at him with wide, unblinking eyes. "You fought for me," she whispered, her voice breaking. The soldier nodded, wiping the blood from his brow. "No chains," he said firmly. "Not while I breathe." Her tears spilled as she pressed her hand against her chest. Her people had been taken, broken, and sold. But this man, this human, stood against the world for her. Not for trade, not for reward, but because he refused to let her be a slave again. She crawled closer, her body weak. "You risked your life," she whispered. "Why?" He looked at her, his eyes heavy with memory. "Because I know what it means to lose someone you cannot save," he said softly. "And I will not let it happen again." The alien woman's chest tightened, her mind torn. All her life, she had believed strength was cruel, that mercy was weakness. Yet here stood a human who turned cruelty into ash, who gave mercy like a shield. Her world no longer made sense, but in that confusion, something new was born: trust. Before she could speak again, the ground shook. The fire flickered as a deep rumble echoed from above. Dust rained from the cracked ceiling, the stone groaning under pressure. The soldier's eyes shot upward, his hand gripping his weapon once more. The alien woman froze, terror flashing in her gaze. Then they heard it, the roar of engines, vast and terrible. The ground quaked as a massive shadow passed overhead. Through a gap in the stone ceiling, a monstrous ship descended. Its lights pierced the night, burning across the ruins. The soldier pulled the alien woman to her feet. "They found us," she whispered, panic clawing at her voice. The soldier's jaw tightened. His eyes locked on the ceiling where the light cut through. "No," he said, his voice calm but fierce. "They've trapped themselves with us." The chamber trembled as the warship landed. The sound of metal striking stone thundered like the heartbeat of a giant. Enemy soldiers poured from the vessel, their voices sharp, their weapons ready. The alien woman clutched his arm, her body shaking. "This is too many," she said, her voice breaking. The soldier stared into the storm, his grip firm. "Then we fight for every step," he said. The firelight flickered, the shadows deepened. Above them, the warship loomed like a predator. Around them, the enemy closed in, and between it all, a human and an alien stood together, one bound by duty, the other bound by hope. The night would not end without blood, but neither would it end without defiance. The price of trust, the ground trembled beneath their feet. The warship's engines roared above the ruins, its lights flooding the chamber with harsh brilliance. Enemy soldiers poured out like shadows given form, their armor dark, their voices cold. The alien woman clung to the soldier's arm, her body trembling, her breath sharp, her eyes widened with terror. "We cannot fight them." "Not all of them," she whispered. The soldier's eyes were steady, his weapon raised. He knew the truth. This was not a fight they could win by force alone. Yet retreat was not an option, and surrender meant chains. He looked at her, his voice low but firm. "Then we find another way." She stared at him, disbelief heavy in her gaze. Her whole life she had been taught that humans only take, only break, only trade. The soldier saw the doubt in her eyes and finally spoke what had weighed on his chest. "Why do you think we are all slavers?" he asked, his tone sharp, her lips trembled, her voice cracking as she answered. "Because the first humans my people met came with chains," she whispered. "They wore your face, they carried your banners, and they took us." Her tears slid down her silver-marked cheeks. "They said we were nothing but property, that our worth was in our bodies." Her voice shook, heavy with grief. "They called themselves human soldiers." The soldier's jaw tightened, anger burning behind his eyes. "They were not soldiers," he said, his voice like steel. "They were thieves, leers who wore our skin but not our honor." He stepped closer, lowering his weapon slightly. "I am not them, and I will never be them." She looked at him, struggling to believe. Her world had been built on betrayal. Yet this man had fought for her when he could have walked away. Her voice broke as she whispered, "Then why risk your life for me?" The soldier's gaze softened, shadows of pain crossing his face. "Because I lost someone once," he said quietly. "My sister was taken in war. I never found her again." His hand trembled as he spoke. "I will not stand by while another life is stolen." The alien woman's chest tightened, her breath catching in her throat. In his grief, she saw truth. And in his truth, she felt something new: trust. Her people had taught her that trust was weakness. But here, trust was survival, and perhaps, trust was strength. Outside, the warship's engines thundered again, shaking the ground. Voices barked commands. The enemy moving closer to the tunnel. The soldier glanced upward, his mind racing. They could not hide. They could not fight. Not here, not like this. But he had an idea, risky, reckless, but the only path left. "We're going inside that ship," he said. His eyes locked on the alien woman. Her breath caught, her body stiffened. "No," she whispered, terror flashing across her face. "They will kill us." The soldier shook his head, determination in every word. "They expect us to run, not to strike." She looked at him as if he were mad. Yet in his eyes she saw no fear, only resolve, only fire. Her hands shook as she whispered, "You would attack them for me?" His answer was simple. "For you and for every life they have stolen." The alien woman's heart pounded. Her world spinning, she had begged for mercy. She had offered herself as currency. But this human saw her as more than her body. He saw her as life worth saving, and now he asked her to fight beside him. The tunnel shook as enemy boots marched closer. The soldier pulled her to her feet, his grip steady. "We move now before they trap us," he said. Her breath was sharp, her fear heavy, but something inside her stirred courage she thought long dead. Together, they ran through the tunnel, their steps fast, their bodies pressed close as shadows chased them. The exit glowed with enemy lights, harsh and blinding. The soldier raised his weapon, his eyes sharp. He whispered to her, "Stay close, no matter what happens." They burst into the open, the warship towering above them. Enemy soldiers turned, shouts filling the night, weapons raised. The soldier fired first, covering their charge with fire and fury. The alien woman gasped, clutching his arm as they sprinted toward the monstrous vessel. Explosions lit the ruins, smoke rising into the stars. The warship's ramp loomed ahead, open, guarded, yet vulnerable. The soldier's heart pounded with every step. The alien woman's breath came in sharp bursts, terror mixing with something stronger, hope. Behind them, enemy soldiers roared, closing in. Before them, the warship glowed, the beast they would dare to wound. The soldier's voice cut through the chaos. "This is not the end," he shouted. "This is the beginning." The alien woman's eyes widened, the fire of his words burning into her soul. And together, they leapt toward the ramp, into the jaws of the enemy. The rescue, the warship's ramp stretched before them like the mouth of a beast. Harsh lights burned across the ruins, and enemy voices filled the night. The soldier pulled the alien woman forward, his weapon blazing as he fired. Each shot echoed against metal walls, sparks flying as enemies fell. The ramp shook under their feet as they ran. The alien woman stumbled, her breath breaking, her legs were weak, her body too wounded for the pace. The soldier caught her before she could fall, lifting her with one arm. Her silver-marked skin gleamed under the ship's lights. "Hold on," he said, his voice steady. "I will not let them take you." They crossed the ramp as alarms screamed inside the warship. Red lights flashed, shadows moved, armored soldiers rushing to block their path. The soldier pressed forward, every movement precise, every strike fierce. He fought not for victory, but for her freedom. The alien woman watched through trembling eyes. This human did not treat her as a burden, but as someone worth dying for. They reached the inner corridor, the walls alive with sirens and flashing lights. The ship groaned as engines powered up. The soldier knew they had little time. He pulled her into a narrow passage, pressing her against the wall. His breath came fast, but his eyes were sharp. "They will try to separate us," he said. "You must not give up." No matter what happens, she wanted to protest, to say she had no strength left, but his fire burned into her. For the first time in her life, she felt strength not born of fear. She nodded, her voice soft. "I trust you." The word struck him like a blade and a blessing both. Trust was heavier than any weapon, and now it was his to carry. He touched her shoulder gently. "Then I will not fail," he whispered. They moved deeper into the warship, the air heavy with smoke and metal. Doors slammed shut behind them, locking their escape. Voices shouted orders in the alien tongue. Boots thundered, weapons charged. The soldier led her down a side corridor, his memory sharp, his instincts alive. But the ship was a maze, and soon they were surrounded. The enemy closed in, weapons raised. The soldier stood tall, his body between her and them. He lifted his gun, his finger tight on the trigger. But before he could fire, a sharp blast echoed. A stun shot struck him in the side, his body stiffened, his weapon clattering to the floor. "No!" The alien woman cried, grabbing his arm as he fell to one knee. The soldier seized the moment. Rushing forward, rough hands grabbed her. Chains snapping around her wrists, she screamed, fighting against them. But her strength was nothing against iron and numbers. The soldier tried to rise. His vision blurred. He saw her dragged away, her eyes wide with terror, her voice breaking as she called his name. The world spun. darkness pulling at him. But even as his body failed, his will did not break. He slammed his hand against his belt, activating a hidden charge. A faint blue pulse flickered, unseen by the enemy. His distress beacon was alive again. He whispered through clenched teeth, "I will come for you." The alien woman fought against her captors, her voice shaking. "You cannot stop him," she cried. "He is not like you. He will return." The mercenaries laughed, dragging her deeper into the warship. But in her heart, fear and hope warred like fire. The soldier collapsed against the wall, his body weak. Alarms screamed. The ship roared. The ramp closed, sealing him inside the beast's belly. Darkness pressed against his vision, but one thought burned. She was not currency. She was not a chain. She was worth everything, and he would tear this warship apart to bring her back. The engines thundered, the ship rising into the burning sky. The soldier forced his eyes open, his hand tight on the beacon. He would not let them win, not this time. The new currency, the warship, climbed into the dark sky, its engines roaring like thunder. Inside its belly, the alien woman lay chained, her wrists bruised, her body heavy with despair. But her eyes burned with something new, hope. For the first time, she believed someone would return for her. She whispered to herself, "He will come, far away." In a dark corridor of the ship, the soldier dragged himself to his feet. Pain tore through his side where the stun shot had struck. Yet his grip on the beacon was tight, his will unbroken. Every step was agony, but every step carried fire. He moved like a shadow through the metal halls. Enemy guards marched the corridors, their weapons sharp, their voices cruel. The soldiers struck fast, silent as a storm. One by one they fell. Never knowing what hunted them, he took their weapons, their keys, their strength. With each fight, his rage sharpened into resolve. The alien woman was dragged into the core chamber. There, more prisoners waited, her people, beaten and chained, their eyes hollow. The mercenary captain stood before them, tall, armored, his voice dripping with cruelty. "You belong to us," he declared. "You will serve until you break." The alien woman clenched her fists, her body weak, but her spirit defiant. "You are wrong," she whispered, her voice shaking but strong. "Someone is coming." At that moment, the doors exploded, metal flying like fire. Smoke filled the chamber, alarms screaming. And through the smoke stepped the soldier, weapon blazing, eyes burning with fury. The prisoners gasped, hope flooding into their tired hearts. The alien woman's eyes filled with tears. "He came," she whispered. The mercenaries charged, the chamber exploding with chaos. The soldier moved with deadly grace, every strike carving a path toward her. Bullets and beams cut through the smoke, the air alive with fire. Chains shattered as he tore them from the walls, freeing prisoners as he fought. The alien woman cried out his name, her chains rattling. The captain seized her, pressing a blade to her throat. "Stop, human," he roared, "or she dies." The chamber froze, every eye on the soldier. He lowered his weapon slowly, his breath steady. But his eyes never wavered, his voice sharp. "Let her go," the captain sneered, pressing the blade tighter. "She is only currency, nothing more." The alien woman's heart broke at those words. But before despair could take her, the soldier spoke again. "No," he said, his voice thunderous. "She is not currency, she is not property. She is life." His words cut deeper than any blade, echoing through the chamber. Even the prisoners lifted their heads, hope rekindling. The soldier moved like lightning. He threw his weapon aside, leaping forward with raw force. The captain swung, but the soldier caught his wrist, twisting it with brutal strength. The blade clattered to the floor. The two locked in savage struggle. Metal groaned under their weight. Fists striking, blood spilling. The alien woman watched, her chains rattling. Her voice rose, trembling but fierce. "Fight, human, fight!" the soldier roared, driving the captain to the ground with one final strike. The enemy leader fell, his body broken, his power ended. Silence fell, broken only by the sound of chains snapping as the soldier freed her. He knelt before her, his breath ragged, his hands trembling as he unlocked her bonds. Her tears fell as she touched his face. "You came for me," she whispered. "I told you," he said softly. "I would not let them take you." Around them, the freed prisoners gathered, their eyes wide with awe. They looked at the human not as enemy, but as savior. The alien woman rose. Weak but proud, she stood beside him, her voice strong. "You thought my body was the only currency I had," she said. "But you showed me another." She looked at him, her eyes shining. "Courage, loyalty, trust, these are the true currency." The soldier nodded, his gaze steady. "And with those, we will buy freedom." The warship shook as explosions ripped through its core. The soldier grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the escape bay. The prisoners followed, their chains broken, their spirits alive. Together they leapt into the night. As the ship erupted behind them, fire tearing across the sky, they crashed upon the ridge, the stars burning above. The alien woman leaned against him, her body tired, her heart alive. She looked at him with new eyes, no longer as captor, no longer as stranger, but as ally, as equal, as hope. The soldier looked out at the endless stars. "This is not the end," he said, his voice calm, his fire unbroken. "This is only the beginning." And together, human and alien stood side by side, not bound by chains, not by trade, but by trust, by courage, and by the promise of freedom yet to come.